Let me ask you a question, and be honest. Are you absolutely certain you know the best time to catch a monster walleye in January? Most guys will say dawn and dusk. It's what we've been taught for generations. But what if that's the very reason you're going home empty-handed? In this video, we are going to shatter that old belief. I'm going to show you why your freezing cold mornings on the ice might be a total waste of time, and reveal the specific, often overlooked window when the real giants actually decide to eat. By the end of this, your entire approach to January walleye fishing could change. So before we get into it, drop a comment right now and tell me your go-to time to fish for walleye in the winter. Let's see who's already cracked the code. For as long as any of us have been fishing, the number one rule for walleye has been low light is the right light. We associate them with sunrise, sunset, and overcast days. And for much of the year, that's solid advice. Walleye use their superior vision in dim conditions to ambush prey. This thinking gets carried straight over into ice fishing. We see guys rushing to their spots in the pre-dawn dark, convinced that the first crack of light will trigger a feeding frenzy. They'll fish hard for a few hours, and if they don't get a bite, they assume the fish just aren't active. The problem is, January isn't like October or May. The rules of the game are completely different under the ice, and the fish's behavior changes in ways that most anglers simply fail to account for. Let's start by dismantling the dawn theory for deep winter. Think about what's happening in the water in January. It's the coldest it's going to be all year. A fish's metabolism is directly tied to the water temperature. When the water is just above freezing, a walleye's metabolism is at a crawl. They are in energy conservation mode. A big, mature walleye isn't going to waste precious calories chasing down a meal unless the odds are overwhelmingly in its favor. That pre-dawn period, while dark, is also often the absolute coldest part of the 24-hour cycle. The water has had all night to lose any residual heat. For a lethargic fish, this is the worst time to expend energy. They are basically inactive, waiting for a better opportunity. It's not about the light, it's about the energy. Now, here comes the game-changing factor that most people ignore: the sun. Even the weak, low-angled sun of January has a profound effect on the underwater world. You might not feel much warmth on your face, but that solar radiation penetrates the ice and snow and begins to warm the water. We're not talking about a huge temperature swing. It might just be a fraction of a degree. But in a near-freezing environment, a rise of half a degree or even a quarter of a degree is like a dinner bell. It's a signal that the day is beginning and energy is entering the system. Imagine yourself in a cold room. Even a tiny bit of heat from a vent makes a noticeable difference. It's the same principle for the fish. That subtle change is everything. So what does this tiny bit of solar warmth actually do? It kickstarts the entire food chain from the bottom up. The first things to react are the smallest organisms in the lake, the zooplankton. They rise in the water column to take advantage of the sunlight for photosynthesis. This might seem insignificant, but it's the critical first step. Where the zooplankton go, the next level of the food chain follows. The minnows, the shiners, the young of the year perch, their whole world revolves around feeding on this plankton. When the plankton becomes active, the bait fish become active. They start to move, to school up, and to feed. Suddenly, that dead, sterile water from the pre-dawn hours comes to life. This activation of baitfish is the trigger we've been looking for. Picture a school of small perch that has been lethargic all night. Now, with the sun's influence, they start moving around, feeding on the rising plankton. They become more visible, more active, and more concentrated. They are no longer scattered and hiding. They are now an available, active food source. For a predator like a trophy walleye, this is the perfect scenario. It's like the grocery store suddenly opening its doors and announcing a sale. The food is now easy to find and easy to catch. The walleye didn't have to waste energy looking for it. The sun brought the food to them. This is the core principle we need to understand. Now, let's think about the mindset of a true trophy walleye. We're not talking about those eager 15-inchers. We are talking about the old, wise, 28-inch-plus giants. These fish didn't get big by being stupid or wasteful. They are masters of energy conservation. A big walleye is inherently lazy. It wants the biggest possible meal for the least amount of effort. It's not going to swim around aimlessly in the cold, dark morning hours, hoping to bump into a minnow. That's a losing game. Instead, it will wait. It will sit patiently in its preferred location, whether it's a deep hole or a subtle break line, and wait for the conditions to be perfect. It's waiting for that midday sun to activate the bait fish. This leads us to the real golden hour of January walleye fishing. Forget 6 a.m. The window you need to focus on is typically between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. This is when the sun is at its highest point in the sky, delivering the most energy into the water. This is when the plankton is most active, the bait fish are most concentrated, and the water temperature is at its daily peak. This 4-hour window is when that big, lazy walleye knows it can feed most efficiently. The fish will move from its resting state into a soft hunting mode. It knows the buffet is about to open and it's getting ready to eat. This is when you need to have your line in the water. I remember a specific trip a few years back that really drove this point home. I was out on a big, deep lake, and like everyone else, I was set up before sunrise. It was dead, nothing, not a single mark on the flasher. Around 9:30, a couple of old-timers showed up in a snowmobile, moving slowly and deliberately. We all kind of smirked, thinking they'd missed the bite. They drilled a few holes, sat down, and started drinking coffee. To us, they looked like they were just out to enjoy the day. But then, around 10:30, we saw one of them stand up and set the hook. A few minutes later, another one. They were pulling in beautiful, thick walleye while the rest of us hadn't had a sniff all morning. What did those old guys know that we didn't? They weren't fishing based on old habits. They were fishing based on observation and an understanding of the fish's winter behavior. They knew that the morning was a waste of time. They saved their energy, had a hot breakfast, and showed up right when the dinner bell was about to ring. They understood that the sun was their best ally. While we were packing up around noon, frustrated and cold, they were in the middle of a feeding frenzy. It was a humbling lesson. They weren't lucky. They were smart. They fished the pattern, not the clock. Let's talk about location in this midday window. The walleye aren't typically going to be in the shallow weeds like they might be in the fall. In January, they are often relating to deeper structures. Think about main lake basins, deep holes, or the sharp edges of underwater points and humps. They will often suspend just off the bottom, waiting. When that midday activity starts, they might not move far. They may just slide up a few feet in the water column or move to the edge of the structure where they can easily intercept the schools of active bait fish. This is why your electronics are so critical. You're not just looking for fish on the bottom, you're looking for those suspended marks that signal a predator getting ready to feed. The type of presentation also matters during this midday bite. A big, lazy walleye isn't looking to chase something fast and erratic. It wants an easy meal. This is where subtle presentations shine. A simple jigging spoon, like a buckshot rattle spoon or a Swedish pimple, can be deadly. The key is not to overwork it. Use small, gentle lifts and let it flutter back down. You're trying to imitate a dying or struggling bait fish, the easiest possible meal. Another killer technique is a dead stick or a tip-up set with a large shiner or sucker minnow. Just let it sit there, a few feet off the bottom, right in their zone. It's an offering they can't refuse when they finally decide to eat. Think about the clarity of the water as well. On many lakes in winter, the water is exceptionally clear. The low-light theory is partly based on walleye using their visual advantage in murky water. But in clear, deep water, that advantage is lessened. The fish are more cautious. During the midday, when the sun is brightest, they often stay deep. They feel more secure in 30 or 40 feet of water. The sunlight penetrating the ice is enough to trigger the food chain, but it's not so bright in the depths that it makes the big fish uncomfortable. This is another reason why that deep water, midday pattern is so consistent in January. They have safety and an active food source all in one place. Another myth to bust is that you need a cloudy, overcast day. While those can be good, don't ever write off a bluebird, sunny day in January. In fact, those bright sunny days can often produce the most intense, concentrated feeding windows. A cloudy day provides a longer, more drawn-out period of decent light. But a bright sunny day creates a more dramatic peak in solar energy between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. This can create a much more intense, albeit shorter, feeding frenzy. I've had some of my best days on the ice under a brilliant blue sky, right around noon, when most people think the fishing should be at its worst. The sun is not your enemy in January, it's the trigger. So how do you put this all into practice on your next trip? It's simple. Change your schedule. Instead of setting your alarm for 4 a.m., sleep in. Have a good breakfast. Take your time getting your gear ready. Plan to be on the ice and setting up around 9 or 9:30 a.m. Use that first half hour to drill your holes, check your electronics, and really get a feel for the area. Don't expect much action right away. Be patient. Your goal is to be in the perfect spot, ready and waiting for when that 10 a.m. window opens up. You're not trying to find an early bite. You're ambushing the main event. Let's consider the psychology of the fish. A predator's entire existence is a balance of energy spent versus energy gained. If it spends more calories than it consumes, it dies. A huge old walleye has perfected this equation over a decade or more. It has learned that chasing food erratically in the coldest, darkest part of the day is a net loss. But it has also learned that when the sun gets high, the bait fish become active and easy to catch. This is a net gain. It's a deeply ingrained, instinctual behavior. By fishing the midday, you are aligning your strategy with the fish's most efficient survival strategy. You're not trying to force them to bite, you're presenting a meal when they actually want to eat. This midday pattern also explains a common phenomenon that frustrates many anglers. Have you ever been marking fish all morning, but you can't get them to bite? They just sit there on your flasher, ignoring everything you drop down. Then, you leave for lunch, and when you come back, they're gone. You probably didn't spook them. What likely happened is that you were there during their inactive period. While you were gone, the midday window opened, they fed aggressively for an hour, and then they moved off or settled back down. You were in the right place, but at the completely wrong time. Timing is more important than location, especially in the dead of winter. Now, it's important to say that this isn't a 100% ironclad rule. Fishing is never that simple. There will be exceptions. A major weather front moving in could trigger a bite at any time. A lake with heavily stained water might behave differently. But for the majority of clear, deep lakes in January, this midday pattern for trophy-class fish is remarkably consistent. It's a high percentage play. By shifting your focus from dawn and dusk to that 10 to 2 time frame, you are dramatically increasing your odds of connecting with the biggest fish in the system. You're fishing smarter, not just harder. Let's talk about the dusk bite for a moment. Does it still exist? Yes, but it's often a different class of fish. In my experience, the dusk bite in January is often dominated by smaller, more aggressive male walleye. They are more willing to take risks and expend energy for a smaller meal. The true giants, the big females, often prefer that single, efficient feeding opportunity during the middle of the day. So if you're just looking to catch a few fish for a meal, the dusk bite can still be productive. But if your goal is that one true giant, that fish of a lifetime, then your best bet is to focus all your effort and attention on that midday solar peak. Think of it as a strategic choice. Are you playing the numbers game or are you trophy hunting? The two often require different strategies. The numbers game might mean fishing dawn, dusk, and hitting a bunch of different spots. Trophy hunting is a game of patience and precision. It's about ignoring the small, eager fish and focusing exclusively on the patterns that the biggest, wisest fish follow. In January, that pattern is dictated by the sun and the fish's need to conserve energy. That means showing up late, fishing the middle of the day, and being ready for a short but intense window of activity. It's a different mindset, but it's one that produces giants. The next time you're planning a trip, try this experiment. Go with a buddy. Have him fish his normal routine, getting there at the crack of dawn and leaving around noon. You show up at 9:30 and stay until 3. Compare your results at the end of the day. Don't just compare numbers of fish, compare the quality. I'm willing to bet that your midday session will produce the bigger fish. It's a pattern that I've seen play out time and time again. It's not magic and it's not luck. It's simply understanding the biology of a cold water predator and using it to your advantage. It's about letting go of old habits, even when they're hard to break. In summary, the key takeaway here is to reevaluate everything you thought you knew about timing in January. The cold water slows the walleye's metabolism to a crawl, making energy conservation its #1 priority. The weak winter sun provides the energy needed to activate the base of the food chain, which in turn gets the bait fish moving. The big smart walleye wait for this peak activity, typically between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., to feed efficiently. By showing up when everyone else is leaving, You position yourself perfectly for the most important bite of the day. It's a complete reversal of the traditional approach, but it's the one that puts trophy fish on the ice. So, there you have it. The big secret isn't a secret at all. It's just biology. Stop blindly following the dawn and dusk rule in the dead of winter. The biggest, laziest, and smartest trophy walleye are playing a different game. They're waiting for the sun to ring the dinner bell for them. The real aha moment is realizing that the bite is driven by energy efficiency, not just by light levels. This can completely change your approach. It means you can sleep in, enjoy your coffee, and hit the ice with a clear, patient strategy, knowing you're about to fish the most productive hours of the day. No more wasted, freezing mornings. Thank you so much for watching. If this video challenged your thinking, hit that like button and be sure to subscribe for more tips that go against the grain. Now, for the real discussion, after hearing all this, are you going to change your schedule on your next ice fishing trip? Or are you sticking to the old ways? Let's get a debate going in the comments below. I want to hear what you think.